Michael Nugent, good morning.
Good morning.
Michael, thank you for joining us this morning. You are chairperson of Atheist Ireland. We are following up on a story we had in the first hour. We had Ciara Roosley on from Tramore, and this is about parents finding it impossible to opt their children out of religion classes despite their legal rights to do so, according to campaigners. That's what Carl O'Brien is writing about in the Irish Times this morning. Can you tell us, please, what is the legal situation regarding somebody like Ciara or any parents who want to opt their children out of religion?
Well, you have a constitutional right under Article 4424 of the Constitution to attend any school receiving state money without attending religious instruction at the school. And you also have a right under the Education Act to not attend any subject that is contrary to the conscience of the parent, or in the case of a student who's reached the age of 18, the student themselves. So that's absolutely settled. And we have parents coming to us regularly with complaints about schools forcing them into religious education. We have letters that you can download from our education website, teachdon'tpreach.ie, that you can give to the school to outline your constitutional and Education Act right and insist that your child is released. But what the schools do is, first of all, they'll try and force you into the class, and then when they can't do that and they realise that they have to let you opt out, they put obstacles in place. They'll ask you in for a meeting. They want to discuss your religious or non-religious beliefs. They won't give you another subject. They'll tell you that you have to collect your child from school during the class or go to another school. If you do manage to get beyond that, they'll make the child sit at the back of the religion class anyway, and they won't be allowed to do homework or anything productive. And indeed, there's another story in the Irish Times today of another school that is giving extra homework to children that don't attend mass organised by the school. So what they do is they grudgingly accept your right and make it as difficult as possible to implement.
What about those texts that are coming in from people saying that, I don't understand people's objection to religion being taken out of school. If you want your children not to learn religion, then go to another school. And obviously we put this to Ciara that she knew the school's ethos. Now, she said there's no other options in Tramore, and this is the problem that she is pointing out. Other people are saying parents should suck it up. That's what we had to do when we were children. Even though we wouldn't have been big into religion, we just had to get on with it.
Well, I think most religious parents would recognise that if it was happening the other way around, that it was wrong. If a religious parent was sending their child to a state school, and that state school was actively teaching children that there's no God, and was making it difficult for the children to opt out of being taught that there's no God, they would realise intuitively that that's not what state-funded schools are for. We would be just as opposed to state-funded schools promoting atheism as we are to them promoting religion. The point about it is it's a constitutional right. It's not up to somebody else to decide what some different person's conscience is. If it is against your conscience, then that's what counts in terms of opting out.
I don't want to get into the whole discussion regarding, I suppose, the very nature of religion. We could be here all week, Michael. What about the other aspect that people would say that parents should let their children make up their own minds from both perspectives? In other words, if a parent is teaching religious education, they should hold back and let the child make up their own mind. Or if they're teaching the atheist creed, then let the child make up their own mind. I presume that's an argument that you get quite regularly, is it?
Yeah, and we would agree completely with that. That's the way that we think religion should be taught in schools. That schools should teach children about the different religious beliefs and non-religious beliefs that different people have, and encourage them to make up their own mind when they reach the age of being able to make up their own mind. But that's not what happens in Ireland. What happens is that schools that are funded by the state, and that are in many cases the only school in your locality, so it's not as if you can just go to another school. The schools actively teach children not only that there is a God, but that it's a particular version of a God, and that you have to absorb yourself into the ethos of that religion. And there's another issue, by the way. There was a case a few years ago, a good many years ago now, in Cork, by a woman called Louise O'Keefe, who was abused in a school in Cork. And the state tried to defend itself against that case by saying that it was the church that was running the school, and that it wasn't the state. The state had given over control of the school to the church. Now, she went to the European Court of Human Rights, and the European Court of Human Rights found two things. One is that saying that you can go somewhere else or do homeschooling is not a real option. A human rights option has to be a practical option rather than just a theoretical one. And they also found that even if the state does give over control of schools to private bodies like the Catholic Church, that the state is still responsible for ensuring that the children's rights are protected within the school. So it's up to the state to deal with it.
Yeah, and there have been efforts made by the state at certain levels, and there's big discussions obviously politically about this. We're talking about the new junior cycle specification for religion being taught as a course subject rather than as a theoretical framework for moral guidance. What age, Michael, is a child old enough to make his or her mind up about religion?
Well, I suppose that's up to each individual child. I mean, different people evolve their capacity to reason at different stages.
Do you have a kind of a guideline on this? Like, is it 12? Is it 8? What is it?
Well, we wouldn't like to be prescriptive about that. We think that schools shouldn't be involved in pushing children either way towards either atheism or religion at any stage in the school. That's not the purpose of a school. That's the function of parents and of churches.
Should there not be some morals taught in school? People will text in as they are now saying taking religion out of schools will lead to the breakdown on fabric of Irish society.
Well, that's another problem, but not from the perspective that those people think. In the Constitution, the state has an obligation to ensure that children receive a minimum level of moral education. But it doesn't have an obligation to ensure that children receive a minimum level of religious education. That's the schools that do that. So the Irish Constitution, which, bear in mind, was put in place by Eamon de Valera, separates morality from religion as two separate things. And this is one of the problems, is that makes it even worse, is that if schools, as they are now, and even under the new proposals for what's supposed to be a more inclusive syllabus, if schools are delivering moral education through religion, then they are failing in their duty to provide a minimum level of moral education to the children that opt out of religion. They should be providing moral education separately from religion.
Joe Kelly has texted in, if religious education is a school subject, like English, French, Irish example, then it should be taught just like the others. If students can opt out of a subject, then where do you draw the line? So where do you draw the line, Michael?
Well, where the Irish Constitution and Education Acts draw the line is that you have a constitutional right to opt out of religion class, and you have a right within the Education Act to opt out of any class that is contrary to your conscience. Now, that can be quite broadly construed, although it is mainly through religion. Like, for example, you'll find some Muslim parents won't want their children to do PE because they're mixing with students of the opposite sex in a gymnasium environment. So that's where the Constitution and the Education Act put it, and I think that's broadly correct. The human rights standards are that if a subject is delivered in an objective, critical and pluralistic manner, then in those circumstances that you can resist a right to opt out, but because you're not indoctrinating children.
Michael Nugent, thanks for joining us this morning. Very much appreciated.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Michael Nugent there, chairperson of Atheist Ireland.